a bit tragic story.
I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't really listen into it. I just heard the first few notions of it. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, could you elaborate a little bit more onto it? Because I mean, I actually have no idea.
Well, I mean, the news report you were playing was just talking about her childhood and everything, and her not being able to move back to London or whatever. But I mean, her death was really tragic, and I mean, women all throughout the world, especially here in the United States and over the pond in the United Kingdom, they were really, really affected by it because Princess Diana, she was a heroine for many women in the UK and in the US. But personally, I think that she was a class act. I mean, perhaps some of the royal families in Great Britain might think otherwise, and that might be part of the conspiracy between why she died. But we got another heroine to many other people here in this country to go talk about today, and Mrs. Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Yes.
But she isn't a heroine to me, but to many she is.
To many she is, as the Washington Post did post Hillary Clinton's insultingly vapid video. So this basically just pertained Hillary Clinton's announcing her presidency.
Yeah.
Essentially, alongside with who else? Who else declared? We have
Marco Rubio,
Ted
Cruz, and Rand Paul. Last three on the
Rand
right.
Paul recently. Well, I mean, they all pretty recently.
Yeah.
I mean, Rand Paul is just recent.
Yeah, Marco Rubio yesterday.
But let's talk a little bit more about Hillary Clinton's announcement video. I mean, that's
Hillary. I mean,
America
might be ready for Hillary, but I'm not.
Yeah, you know what? I'm the same way.
But I am ready for change.
Oh yeah.
To quote Mr. Barack Obama.
Very ironically, as you may say that. I mean, I am definitely ready for change, but I mean, and I really don't think this is necessarily a gender thing. I never, even for me in the last election, I never thought of it as a race thing. I mean, it is a big step for, the U.S. to be able to go about, electing someone that, is a little bit change of face.
But Pat,
which is interesting, but I think, like, one of the biggest things is that we kind of ignored in the last election is really not necessarily policy, but just the way about how he went about his policy. And I think that was the major issue, essentially, throughout his entire presidency. Even though there were, I mean, in my opinion and your opinion, there are some different twerks as to how he did some things more effectively than I would have assumed his opponent in that like Mitt Romney and John McCain. But I feel that, I think he had his perks, but I think he had some definitely, detrimental things that he did to society as a whole. I mean, whether it be healthcare, whether it be anything that he really reformed, like his stimulus bill or anything like that. But Bill, more so, I kind of want to see what you think more so about how Hillary Clinton would affect what we see as modern day America now.
Okay, well, I'll start off with her campaign announcement video. I think that her campaign video highlights two things. Primarily, yeah, she did check off the box of pretty much every demographic except the white male or the white straight male. I think that has to go highlight what I heard from what's his name, Barney Frank, a few weeks ago at a Barnes & Noble book signing, where he's a progressive Democrat, and I think that Hillary espouses to this, or she's trying to at the very least, and where they think that the problem with America is the straight white male, and I think that once you cast away this whole narrative, once you throw out this narrative and push it forward on the American people, you really antagonize people like me and yourself, and I think that's dangerous. And I see Hillary Clinton, she's trying to play identity politics once again, which the Democratic Party does exceptionally well. And the Republican Party could play identity politics very well because they have the ability to go identify better, I believe, with the American people, but they just don't do it.
I think they stress a little bit more like conservative values that, just
yeah.
don't really necessarily blend with societies as effective as as the liberal standpoint may be.
Well, we're digressing a bit, but I think that the conservatives in the Republican movement that they're able to coincide better with society, but they just don't know how to argue it better, or perhaps they don't even realize it. Where everything with the conservatives, and I'm a conservative, and I get upset with this aspect of it, where this is what's wrong with America. We have to go be angry. Where, why can't you just be a cheerful and joyful conservative and go say something?
I think
But Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, and I was about to go over that. Just kind of tying back what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think what's kind of so necessarily like a comfortable niche that Democrats and liberals all alike have that just they really utilize effectively and I think this is something that Hillary just went up and about and said and to quote, everyday Americans need a champion and I want to be that champion. And I think that's one of the biggest selling points that the liberals have that they use so effectively, and I think Obama utilized it throughout both his elections, and I feel like Hillary Clinton might go about that same route because it's basically going to be consisting of a popularity contest based on we need a first new woman president.
Yeah, well, a few important things that you touched on there. In our last little bit, we were talking about the video and about the checklist. I think that whether or not you think that it's just political ploy, which it probably is, I think that it goes to show the growing and more diverse America here in the 21st century. And you can even see it in Hillary Clinton choosing Brooklyn as her campaign headquarters. It's a new growing America, more urban perhaps. I don't really know if I agree with a more urban America. I agree with a more diverse America where more thoughts are celebrated, a more free expression. But I also find it interesting that Hillary Clinton, and it was a prime time for her to do this, that she fails to go offer any campaign narrative, except that she's a woman. And I put up that picture, the joke, here's her marriage certificate, and then she says, exactly, it's my resume. She has yet to go speak about anything. And the one thing that she could speak about is her tenure, 4 years as Secretary of State. And that's the third most powerful position in the United States government.
Well, elaborate a little bit more
VP.
about her and her position as a Secretary of State. Okay. Because I feel like, I had a conversation with my management teacher the other day, and he kind of shut me down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I did kind of go over how she isn't very effective as a foreign policy maker. She doesn't really go out there and we can go over examples like Benghazi, all these kind of things.
Yeah,
and I feel, and it's just kind of for her to be in that certain position is sketchy, and to put her as the commander-in-chief, a little bit more sketchy. So that's why, for me, in this next upcoming election, I feel that having someone with military experience would be the most effective president to have. And I feel like that would be the biggest voter issue for me.
Well, Pat, you talk about having experience and everything. If we look at the Republican Party, which I'm a big supporter of, everyone except for Jeb Bush has not been in politics before 2010. Marco Rubio comes on the scene in 2010. So does Rand Paul, Ted Cruz 2012, Scott Walker 2010. Ben Carson isn't even in government. So if you want someone with experience, you got either Bush or Clinton, and it's probably going to come down to them too. And Hillary Clinton, I don't agree with her. I think that she is a true heroine, but I think that she's fallen to this idea that she's suspect to giving in to strong-willed men. She gave in to her husband, where she could have really stood for women's rights in that time, or really championed women's rights, and she gave in to Barack Obama, where I think that she had a different foreign policy code, but she didn't really attack it because she was afraid of backlash from the administration. But look, the difficult quandary is that we're entering a time where, with the Arab Spring, with the Islamic State, with Iran and Cuba and all those negotiations going on, where foreign policy is more important than ever.
True.
But Hillary Clinton, what is she talking about? She's talking about who's going to take out the trash when you have home renovations in her campaign video. And her most important highlight of her resume has been Secretary of State of the United States of America for 4 years. If I were her, I would go talk about that, but she can't. She can, but she won't, because she doesn't want to go talk about her time in the Obama administration, which has poll rankings, I believe, in the 20s. In the 20s. Comparable to Hillary Clinton. She had poll rankings in the 60s while Secretary of State. So I think that's very difficult for her. But I also think that the whole lack or will on her behalf to go mesh out a campaign policy plan on her behalf really speaks to the volume that she doesn't respect everyday Americans. And this whole term about everyday Americans, from a linguistic standpoint, I find to be a little funny. Because what are there? Do you have weekly Americans, and do you have annual Americans or biannual Americans?
Well,
Or in Hillary Clinton's case, do you have quad-annual Americans, where, you know, only every 4 years you pop up and talk about America? But I think that here, there's a great line here from on the second page from Ruth Marcus of the Washington Post, where she says, "Might I suggest, candidate Clinton, the best way to demonstrate your humility to voters is to take them and their presidential choice seriously, not to pander and condescend." Basically, you know, tell us what your plans are for the country, because if you really want to go humble yourself, make voters feel like they're worthy enough to be part of the conversation. Don't talk to them, have a conversation with them, because in the last election, this was her whole problem, that she spoke to Americans and she said that you're in it to win for me, whereas this time it has to be, I'm in it to win for you.
I think more so in the last election, or the last election that she participated in, she was a little bit more on the same platform as Obama, so that kind of really frayed her.
She was actually further to the left, and actually
a little bit more.
And actually, Pat, actually her health care plan, actually the ACA resembles her healthcare plan more than it resembles Obama's original healthcare plan.
Which further proves my point, kind of more so in the fact that she kind of went off the same platform in a sense that she really wanted to support what's going on in the U.S. And at the time, I think that was really, really the biggest issue, because, I mean, we had an economic recession, and we were going through some really hardships going on in the United States, and we had problems like this in the Middle East. So really, as a whole collection, that election in 2008 was really a kind of standpoint of whether or not we were going to go foreign policy or we were going to go domestic. So, I mean, when it came down to it, of course we voted for Obama. We came in and we fixed up what was going on in America a little bit more.
Pat.
But when it comes down to foreign policy, we forgot about him. We left him out, and now that's the biggest issue nowadays, because we not necessarily forgot about him, but we weren't as effective as we were domestically. So now in this election, we need to focus more on a foreign policy measure, because basically our security is just as down in the dumps as it was back in 2001 when we got attacked. So we really need to see what can we do to make allies, well, not necessarily allies, but more so deplete any anti-American forces that want to, you know, come against our country. And I don't believe Hillary Clinton will really put her foot down and say, all right, let's put some troops down. Let's put troops on the ground. Let's see what they can do. Let's all out nullify the any effect towards us.
Now, Pat, I think that whether you're progressive or conservative, that you can go agree that there are certain fundamental problems facing America, and that I think that the schism is a result of our logic to getting to the solutions to facing these quandaries that we face. But in 2007, Hillary Clinton, in her announcement, she said among the things that she was going to tackle is how to bring the right end to the war in Iraq, how to make energy independent, how to end the deficits threatening Social Security and Medicare, how every American can have quality, affordable health care. Problems that are still, except the war in Iraq, yet we still have Iraqi issues, problems that are still here with us today. But in her video, all we see is something about home renovations and perhaps going to school and perhaps getting a college loan. And that's cute and everything, but we aren't talking about making a project for Miss Gilmore's 5th grade class. We're talking about making policy reform with Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu and everyone else.
Well, I mean, I think she
and taking off Vladimir Putin and ISIS.
I think she does bring up a good point of finishing off necessarily our domestic issues. You know, really to bring it, you know, at some level of what we can be able to, like, you know, be able to, not necessarily capable of doing what we really need to do, but put us in a position where we're a little bit more effective. And, you know, I mean, that shows in our ratings, like economically and all that kind of jazz. But I think she really kind of focused on finishing up those domestic issues. And now when it really comes down to it, what's our bigger issue, you know? And I think we'll go over that in our next segment.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick little break. We'll be back in a few.
What